So for this next section, you're answering the question, what does Philoctetes do that the other Greeks don't like? So when he fights, he does something the other Greeks think of as kind of dishonorable, cheaty. Now the Greeks had landed on Lemnos to take on fresh water on their way to Troy 10 years before. And there one of their number, Philoctetes, had fought a poisonous dragon who lived among the hills. The dragon had bitten him in the foot, and though he killed it at last, the wound did not heal, but dripped with venom and gave off a sickening stench. Philoctetes, in agony, kept the camp awake at night with his cries. The Greeks had grieved for him, but could not bear to have him with them in the close quarters of a ship, so they had left him behind on the desolate isle when they sailed on their way. But now, late in the day, the gods were telling Calchas that they could not gain Troy without him. So Diomedes and Odysseus set sail to fetch him, and landing on the forsaken shore, they heard his familiar cries of pain and despair, which guided them to a cave along the coastwise rocks. And there they found him, piteous and terrible, worn to a skeleton, with long matted hair and beard, and eyes sunk deep into his head. He lay moaning on a great pile of seabirds' feathers, his bow and arrows lying ready to his hand, and all the cave floor littered with the feathers and bones of the birds that he had shot for food, and his wounded foot still oozing with a stinking venom. When he saw Odysseus and Diomedes coming, he seized his bow and fitted an arrow, dipped in his own poison, to the string. But they held up their hands in the sign that they came in peace, and he laid the bow down again and let them draw near. They sat on the rocks and told him the reason for their coming, and promised that if he came with them, his wound should be tended, and they should do all they could to make amends for having deserted him. Philoctetes listened to them, and at last said he would return with them to Troy. So the rowers laid him on a litter and carried him down to the ship. Odysseus bathed the wound with water warmed over a driftwood fire, and poured oil into it, and bound his foot with soft linen. They gave him supper and wine such as he had not tasted for 10 years. And next morning they sailed for Troy. Fair winds brought them swiftly to the shore where the black ships lay, and they carried him up to Agamemnon's hall, where the high king made him welcome, and Machaon, their leader, did all that could be done for his foot. They gave him women slaves to tend him, and 20 well-broken horses, and vessels of fine bronze. They bathed him and cut and combed his hair, and gave him a robe from the king's own chest to replace his rags. And soon, feeling the strength coming back into him, he was eager to carry his bow into battle and send his arrows. He still had some that were poisoned, among the Trojans. The Greeks thought it was an ill thing to use venomed arrowheads, but Philoctetes said, "This is the skill I have learned in 10 long years. If you would have my help, then you must have it my way." So the question you're answering is, what does Philoctetes do that the other Greeks don't like? When he's planning to go into battle right now, what does he do when he goes into battle? What's he planning to use?